Hello and thanks for staying with us. Welcome to Political Platform on Repa Radio and Africa Independent Television, AIT. My name is Amici Anapwe. Now, the Independent and National Electoral Commission will be under scrutiny today because the independence and credibility of Nigeria's electoral umpire have once again come under intense scrutinization as preparations gradually gather pace for the 2027 general elections. Across political landscape, several opposition political parties and prominent politicians have expressed fears that the Independent National Electoral Commission may not be sufficiently independent. Yes, they believe they are not objective enough to conduct elections that will be free, fair, that will be transparent, and that will be acceptable to every stakeholder. Now, ADC's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, is the latest opposition figure to question INEC's objectivity. Many others have also done so, while INEC itself has consistently maintained that it remains an impartial institution committed to discharging its constitutional responsibilities without fear or favor. Critics insist that public confidence in the electoral process can only be restored through greater transparency, accountability, and demonstrable institutional independence. INEC should not only be independent, it should not only be objective and impartial, but be perceived to be so. The perception must be that they are independent. As Nigeria inches closer to another crucial democratic exercise, the debate raises fundamental questions about how we can make INEC independent and convince citizens that they must vote and their votes will count. We'll be joined by Ezenwanwagu is the Executive Director, Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Abuja. He has been involved with electoral reforms for decades, so he'll be offering perspective on how we can help INEC and INEC also helping itself to remain independent. Before that, we'll also consider news that a federal high court in Abuja has ordered the final forfeiture of 48 properties linked to former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, to the federal government. The judgment came on Wednesday through Justice Joyce Abdul Malik. The court held that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that's so 48 properties belonging to Malami to revert to the federal government. That is, if Malami will not appeal in higher court, surely he will do. But let's get down to our business right away. My colleagues are here, Uju Ejeye, Mustafa Mohammed, and Oyedia Orum. Welcome to the program. 48 properties belonging to one man, now belonging to the federal government.
Amechi, it's so sad that it's only Malami that is facing this. There are several public officials, former this, former that.
MSLA is also facing similar charges of forfeiture.
Yes, former this, former that, serving this, serving that, with estates, housing estates, filling stations, shopping plazas, hotels, landed property in very expensive places like Gudapi, Asokoro, Metama, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Kano. Remember the former accountant general that is facing such similar charges. I think the federal government should go beyond Malami. All those people who have allegedly stolen our commonwealth, or all those wealthy public servants who cannot account for how they got monies to build those property, buy those property here and there, should also face the charges. In the United States of America or Europe, once your account hits beyond 9,999, all the tax authorities realize that what is in
Once
your
it
account,
goes beyond 6 digits.
6 digits, or your income, what your lifestyle and the monies in your account goes beyond your official income, then you have to account for that. It's actually very sad that Malami, former Attorney General of the Federation,
And make sure you're paying commensurate taxes.
yes, came from Kebbi State, right? Where the poverty hit so hard, lack of infrastructure. If you look at the poverty index in northern Nigeria, states like Kebbi are on top when it comes to such situation. And as human beings, sometimes you start wondering, when human beings pack a lot of money, a lot of wealth, beyond what they need to live, what are they going to do with it, and how comfortable? Okay. And let me tell you what leads to such corruption in the country. This is a nation where almost everybody is a local government to himself. You buy fuel for generator or install solar, you think borehole to get water, your children go to private school, your wife and children and yourself go to private school, you always repair your car because the roads are bad, you hire security guards and vigilantes to guard you even in the neighborhood and your houses. So you can see the reason why people are stealing. But I'm not saying this is an excuse. It's actually very sad.
Very, very sad. It beats me, you know, when you look at how greedy people can get, how greedy public officers can get. I mean, one man, 48 properties. I mean, nothing stops you if the wealth is genuinely acquired. We had some of our fathers in those days, you know, who made good use of the opportunities that abound. But when you are a public officer and you're stealing the public dry of what rightfully belongs to them, 48, then a radio station, a university, I don't know, for Malami, who started his career from, who had his first break from the National Assembly under Bukola Saraki as Senate President, and for him to descend to this level of stealing public fund, it's so disappointing, because that's one institution that trains people. Yes, we have had monsters come out of there, but we've also had gentlemen come out of that institution. And to think that while, you know, that there are even the stories going around that some of the whistleblowers, you know, that they got information from, at the end of the day, never got what they were promised. Rather, they were forced to sign away their own part of the agreement. And then some of these government officials took what was rightfully theirs. Like Mustafa said, we shouldn't stop at Malami. A whole lot, even in the current administration, we must beam the searchlight on government officials. The stealing is huge. Stealing our common wealth, our common patrimony, no. It has to stop. There are a whole lot of them that need to be reached. Not only him, not only Emefiele. We must get them to account, including recharge card sellers who became trillionaires. That 1-point-something trillion was found in his account. He must account for that money. That money must be recovered. That money must be recovered.
Oh, yeah, dear.
Yes, Amechi, I think I agree with what my colleagues have said. You know, the issue of fighting corruption, it should be encompassing. It shouldn't be people who may have fallen out, you know, with the current administration. It should go beyond just Malami. It should go to even civil servants, because we've heard a whole lot of things about even rot in the civil service. But beyond what has been recovered, we know this is outrageous. I think we should go beyond this and look at these houses that have been recovered. What happens to them? We've seen the case of Emefiele and some of the houses that were recovered. What has happened to them?
Emefiele's zone is still in the court of appeal.
Yes, but
and I will expect Malami to also head to the court of appeal.
But we don't want to see a case where some of these things that have been recovered are relooted again? Because I know there's a bill currently at the National Assembly for an agency specifically to manage some of these things that have been recovered from, corrupt officials. That would really be a welcome development. And I'm wishing that this will be seen through, that the persons that will be there will be able to be accountable, they will be transparent, and ensure that this money, maybe if these things are sold, we can use it to fund the budget, because there's a whole lot of things the government is battling with in terms of funding. Our budgets are not funding.
Many of the looted funds that Abacha loot that came back at the earliest period into the country were re-looted. So you're concerned that this one shouldn't go that same route?
Because there was even a time when was it EFCC that put up some of the houses that were recovered. I actually went also to buy some of them, but of course I wasn't able to get them. But I'm hoping that some of these things are not given to cronies, friends and families, and not made public for people who are interested to buy them. So it's really a sad situation, really. I must say that.
Let me also say that I hope that because of the education shortfall in the north, that they do not destroy that university. Let government maintain that university and utilize it for the benefit of the children.
Like he did with a university in Kaduna State.
Yes.
It was taken over from
university.
Oh, sorry?
Yes.
North University.
Yes, from a former public official.
Yes.
The same process of forfeiture, and the government took over it and all that.
Yes, they should maintain it and let the people still benefit from it. And also the radio station, let it be a job-creating organization, that will generate more jobs for the people.
Okay. Now, Malami, while he was Attorney General, just like 4 years ago, he was Attorney General for 8 years during the period Muhammad Buhari, late president, was in office. He also, as a chief law officer of the country, ensured that several properties were forfeited to the federal government because the EFCC, ICPC took the issues to court and said these properties were acquired through unlawful means, and the owners of this property couldn't prove that they acquired them legitimately, and so it got back to the federal government. Now he has left office. The same thing is happening to him. And I dare say, when this administration leaves office, whenever they leave office, you will also hear music like this play out. Those at the top will also be accused of this same thing. And the good thing about forfeiture trial cases is that it's easy. It's easy for the anti-corruption agencies to deal with. Unlike the criminal, because Malami's criminal prosecution is still on. When it's criminal, I want to send someone who is corrupt to jail. It's difficult. You have to prove beyond all reasonable doubt. You have to make sure that you have a watertight case, and it's always difficult, especially when the person has got resources and can hire smart attorneys and all that. But when it's forfeiture, it's a civil matter. The onus of proof is on you, the public officer, that this property you acquired, you legitimately acquired. We are not saying you stole it, but you legitimately made the money. And if you didn't legitimately make the money, you can't prove it. But don't you reverse to the state?
We have passed through stages where the anti-corruption agencies had also helped corrupt officials and individuals to carry out corruption. Remember the cases of plea bargain in this country. You stole 1 million naira. You bargain that, okay, you are giving government 200 million, 200,000, and you are keeping much of the loot. A lot of Nigerians are angry. If the acquisition of these monies are not justifiable, why would you be allowed to keep any? Okay. In fact, in places like China, $500, you go to. So I keep asking myself, why is it that in Nigeria we don't have severe penalty? Because if you see the matter is still in court, you don't see any remote.
Okay, we'll have to move ahead now.
It's a strong point.
There are some other issues to consider, just to encourage the anti-corruption agencies to continue to go for this civil forfeiture. If you can't send them to jail, stop them from using the ill-gotten wealth. It's easy. It's as easy as ABC. So we encourage them to do so.
And then refund.
Now, let's go into another issue now. allegations and has fears that INEC will not be objective. A lot of Nigerians will tell you, I will not vote because I know the outcome of the election. They will write results. Some other people will tell you no. If you have that belief and you allow them, they will write that results. Now, the bulk stops on the table of INEC. There are pressures from Nigerians, accusations that they will undermine this election. All of them have been denied by INEC. Let's take a listen to the allegation and the defense that's coming from INEC.
In light of these inconsistencies and concerns regarding impartiality and integrity, the House Caucus of the ADC on Monday, 13th April 2026, hereby calls for the removal of Professor Amupitan from office and advocates for his prosecution in order to safeguard the nation against an unavoidable descent into anti-democratic practices. The caucus is gravely concerned about the ostensibly undemocratic actions taken by INEC under the leadership of Professor Amupitan.
Address some basic problems that confront our electoral system, one of which is lack of trust. Like when people say we don't trust you, I say thank you. I strive and work extra hard to ensure that we rebuild the trust of the public. And in fairness, some people say it's because of the past. So we continue to be haunted by what happened in the past. Maybe we didn't give enough information. And that is why when concerns are raised, I try to respond so that people will know nothing was done deliberately. And again, I've noted, like I told my commissioners, Nigerians are expecting 100% or a perfect election. So we also have to do what? To try and be as perfect as our Heavenly Father is perfect.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT on air, online,
People, politics, and power brings context and clarity to issues and events in governance, democracy, and development. On People, Politics, and Power, we feature people who shape the events and define the issues.
A lot of the agencies are still struggling with implementation of freedom of information.
The government should come. We need Nigeria to work.
We examine the interplay and interaction of politics with power and their impact.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We'll have our guest in-house here, who is the Executive Director, Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa. But before we get to meet with him, let's let my colleagues quickly weigh in on this very perennial issue. INEC is always viewed with strong suspicions from Nigerians in every election cycle.
You have a double-edged sword, Amechi Rapwe. Even the issue before the issues of political parties expressing distrust and mistrust at the institution and the head of the umpire itself, there have been calls for the removal or resignation of the chairman of INEC. Especially from...
We get that all the time.
Yes, but this time around, people alleged that he had hand in that infamous petition to the U.S. Congress against Nigeria and what had... it was a very serious diplomatic issue. A lot of calls were made for him to resign before the issue of ADC, NDC, and what have you. And if it's in a certain country, once you are not trusted, you throw in the towel, go and teach at the university from where you come. It's just like a judge or justice sitting at a court, and then the
litigants to recuse themselves.
The litigants don't have confidence.
Some of them do. Some of them refuse to recuse when they don't see any reason.
If only in Nigeria you have such personalities who want to sit there even if they are not trusted. And you just saw the video where he was talking about lack of trust, apparently referring to all the other things that happened in the INEC before he came. But what about his own personality and the current
and the fact that there's evidence, at least from what we can see, about him being partisan politically, belonging to a political party, and even it's not even just I said allegedly belonging to a political party. We saw it during the last election, even when he was saying, the thing is settled, unless of course you want to tell me that, unless you want to tell me that it's AI, but the thing is, he has been linked to such things, and he has not made any effort to clear himself convincingly. Those things are still there. There's no way people can trust him. If those things are there, he has not been able to clear himself. And the other day, that somebody's information was hacked into by INEC, by one of the staff, which he also accepted because they said they discovered the person. But what has happened to that person till now is what we do not know. The public is not aware that any punitive measure has been meted to the person. So you have a whole lot of things. So we won't even talk about some of the things we see when we go to cover elections.
Yes, indeed. I listened to what he was saying about INEC saying their past is what people still use to judge them. Yeah, definitely, your past will definitely haunt you. I've had a problem with INEC always, dishing out promises before elections, and on the election day we see something different. So that has really affected the trust of so many Nigerians. And I listened to him as well when, he was screened to become the INEC chairman, where he made a lot of promises that technology is going to be perfect, everything will be different. Under his watch, he will ensure that even the least person that lost election will even call the winner and even congratulate him. We're yet to see some of those things, because sometimes what happened in the past, the issue of technology not working, and at the long run, INEC says, we apologize. We're tired of hearing apologies. Now we want to face the real thing. Let it work. Let the rightful people work. No more apologies.
Let's welcome our guests. With this INEC position, some people say even if you put an angel there, there'll still be mistrust. Is it real or imagined?
Well, thank you, Dr. Abichi. I think it's always very important not to allow politicians to give us talking points. The reason for that will be that at every point in time, politicians are always looking for advantage, even if it is dubious. So, and one of the ways to do that is to ridicule institutions. Give those institutions, paint those institutions as unworthy of conducting, whatever activity has been given to them by Constitution. INEC is a law, is a creation of the law, is a law-guided institution.
Creation of the Constitution.
Creation of the Constitution, law-guided institution. So I would want to always wear the lens of looking at how their processes run against the laws that they make for themselves, which is their own guidelines, the Electoral Act, and the Constitution. I understand why INEC would have to be in the public eye all the time. It midwives our leadership recruitment process. But behind that, there are certain people that will give a lot of comfort. The behavior or misbehavior of the political parties sometimes pale into insignificance. But 60% of the shenanigans that happen in our electoral process are by the politicians.
Engineered by them?
Engineered by them. They conducted, look at their own internal democracy, for instance. as I call them, a mini EMP. They also conduct certain
As
kind of,
INEC, their own internal
yes.
INEC.
It was a disaster. It was a disaster.
Imposition, name it.
I said there are parties that up till today has 40 cases in court just for, candidate selection. Until we begin to put them on the spotlight and make them the issue the way it should, whether you are talking about compromising INEC, whether you are talking about compromising security, whether you are talking about creating siege mentality or violence, you must locate it where it is. That's my opener. Now, for trust is a very chameleonic word. When I say chameleonic, it depends on the sides. And for very divisive conversations like politics, you have to be very careful when you are saying people don't trust. That is an unstatistical standpoint, because you will never get to be able to have a number. We will say
there's this Yaga Africa study, and I know you went through it, that showed a greater number seem not to be satisfied.
No, the number, unfortunately, that's the funny thing about that report. Many people said that they trust the process. You go and see that report. It's very funny, and it's a challenging thing for us. When that report came out, we were thinking that a lot of people will say they will not trust.
You have witnessed many
elections.
You have witnessed many elections. In Abuja here, there were times when results were announced while collection were still going out.
2000 and...
You know that. So
no, hold on now.
Mm-hmm.
What about the incremental changes that have happened? You can't deny the processes, the effort to bring change. Why did you introduce technology? Why did you bring things like beavers? The time you were talking about, there was no permanent voters card. There was no smart card reader. The transitions that have taken place have brought things in perspective. Look at beavers, for instance. You can say whatever you like about the process, but those homogeneous figures that were thrown into the process before now are no longer happening. Your Kano, for instance, has close to 7 million votes. Kano is not doing up to 3 million anymore, and you think it is ordinary. Lagos has 6 million. Lagos is not able to do up to 3 million. Rivers has 3 million. Is not able to do 1.8.
Are you telling me
those times that we are talking about where you are voting, what was the percentage of turnout? Turnout was 66%, 67%, 80%. Beavers has been able to, one, the responsibility to ensure that the holder of a PVC is the authentic owner of that PVC. It has reduced voter identification theft, relatively speaking.
But don't you think that voter apathy may also have contributed to the reduction
when you
in
say
numbers?
Voter apathy, you also have to use the correct language. Talk about low voter turnout. Voter apathy will mean that citizens are not participating. Participating in the voter registration process is participation. Okay? If you have added 7 million people to your voter register, people coming out to register is participation. If people participate in campaigns, if people participate in internal party processes, that's participation.
But a whole lot of Nigerians, Nigerians have become so disillusioned that they are not even going for the voter registration.
You say a whole lot of Nigerians.
Yes.
A whole lot of Nigerians.
Yes, we relate with them on a daily basis. From a
statistical standpoint, let me come. When people participate in a process, they are showing enthusiasm. And that enthusiasm, you may not quantify it in terms of what it is. But let me tell you something about low voter turnout. Are you also aware that if you do a study of Edo, Ondo, the Ekiti elections, that you will see that figures come side by side with vote buying? What do I mean by that? The numbers that, if you have studied the amount of money that is being used for vote buying, you will also see it has something to do with turnout. The politicians are managing that stock in a way that they can pay. And so there is a lot of things that come into turnout, low voter turnout, and the correct use of those terms. Oh, voter apathy, low voter turnout. Let us situate them properly. But that is not excusing the fact that there are challenges, huge challenges in terms of what we are doing with technology, in terms of how people get into INEC, okay, in terms of the challenges of appointments.
Is that the base of the problem? The manner of appointment into INEC, a lot of agitations and advocacy on removing the powers from the president, the overbearing influence of the executive. As we speak, INEC has not fully gotten the funds for the conduct of the election, despite the fact that it's on first line charge and all that. That overbearing influence of government, is that the first thing we have to do in free INEC?
We have to really look at it. But we also have to hold institutions that play a role in that appointment accountable. What do I mean by that? The president nominates. The president nominates somebody, a prospective appointee into that place. Then when he nominates, he sends that list to the secret police, the DSS or whatever. They profile and then say, Dr. Amechi is appointable. And then it now goes to the National Assembly. The National Assembly has a responsibility to also look at that nominee and say, okay, this nominee fits what in all of this, when they abdicate their responsibility,
yes,
when they don't do the thorough vetting that they should do, and it comes back again to the Council of States. The Council of States is supposed to be a statesmanly platform where people who have given their all to the country sits and can say, look, this candidate is not appointable.
It's become almost a thoroughfare when not just the INEC chairman or the National Board of INEC, Police Council, all of them, all do any case of any objection.
Exactly.
But
whether the constitution allows them
disturbed, but it's a situation where the National Assembly becomes almost like a rubber stamp. Anything the president says, anything the executive says, they just hit the gavel. Is that the best that we can have in this country?
I can't excuse anybody who, for whatever reason, decides to abdicate a responsibility that is given to you by the Constitution. You can hoist whatever regime of excuse you like. Oh, the overbearing, whatever influence. You have a duty to do. But even at that, my sister, have you seen, at least, in quotes, this 2023 election gave us what could look like a diverse National Assembly in terms of parties that we are thrown into the mix, into the National Assembly. But what happens is that the character, complexion, and nature of our political class is the same, irrespective of which party that they are.
They all blended.
Did you see anybody, maybe during the period of appointments, it is left for the media and civil society to be raising issues. The opposition political parties that should walk out and support those initiatives. If you remember, the media and civil society raised issues on certain national commissioners that were appointed, and even resident electoral commissioners. The National Assembly passed them.
But the
opposition people within those parties never. Not even the political parties addressed the threat of. In fact, Samson Bitolo was taken to court by one of the appointees. We expected that the media, civil society stood by him throughout that ordeal of that trial. But not one political party even issued a statement.
One would have expected the INEC chairman to be somebody who is appointed from a neutral body, not from the president, just to instill confidence in a lot of Nigerians. Because take for instance, if you go on the street and listen to a lot of Nigerians, they will tell you the same thing. I have spoken to a lot of them. This is all not that, I'm hearing. No, I've spoken to a lot of them, and they say that, well, I don't have a voter's card, and I'm not even ready because even if I vote, my vote may not really count. So what are you telling such people?
Well, and just to
like the NJC, for instance.
Question. The Young Africa survey I mentioned earlier, that survey, that it says only 45% of Nigerians have confidence in INEC to conduct credible elections ahead of 2027. Only 45%.
50%.
So, majority of Nigerians by this survey do not have confidence in INEC to conduct credible elections. So it's scientific.
when you say majority,
55%.
You must be able to also understand the challenges of data, the politics of data. If you are nuanced about it, you'll be very cautious in banding, data to support political. I'm not talking about. In fact, many things in estimates. Okay, I ask people. I say, you talk about hunger in Nigeria, for instance, which is real. But do you have the data? How many chickens are killed, are slaughtered today in any abattoir?
But I thought
you can take your family
Africa
as a
is a
survey.
credible
You can take people around you.
How many people? Do you know how many people live in my house?
I thought
if somebody visits you now,
I thought Young Africa is a credible organization.
No, very credible.
And you were on the board of.
I am still on the board. What I'm telling you is that once it has to do with political conversations, I'm a bit nuanced because I know it's a divisive, very divisive process. Now, why do I say this? INEC has challenges, but there has been a lot of improvements. Many people, because they are not invested in understanding what has happened, or even when they see that progress, they ignore it. I am more interested in what has happened that has improved the process. In 2023, with all the challenges of that election, we saw how many people who came into the National Assembly that were in opposition. And I had one of them in a TV program that I wrote, and he started waxing very lyrical about, all of these issues. I said, how did you come to National Assembly? Who conducted the election? Did you rig the election? Did you buy? He denied. He said no, that INEC conducted his own election. He is a member of opposition political party. If you have more opposition political, figures winning elections, and winning those elections from an election conducted by the same independent national, it shows you that things have shifted a bit.
No, but somebody will tell you that, look, this because of the people called it the obese tsunami at that point in time, a lot of them latched onto the popularity of Labour Party and the presidential candidate to win those elections. And today they have shown that they were not really with the party because most of them have moved to the APC.
No, who conducted the election that they won?
Because it happened in places where, look, there are places where that rigging is just impossible.
Which means that you rig,
rigging is impossible, not because they did not try.
No, which means you rig where you are strong. You can only rig where you're strong. You can't rig election where you are not strong.
Of course, it follows.
The major problem was on the presidential election, not on the National Assembly and the state house of it.
The major problem with the election was the glitch. Is that also?
Yes.
Now, what is that glitch? Have you ever sat down to say this glitch?
INEC is here to explain to us what.
No, INEC has explained. You go and read their report.
Not in detail.
Yes, not in detail, but don't say they have.
Nigerians are demanding for details.
If you read the report, it gives you the 2023 election report, gives you an insight into what the challenge could be. But it is about the IREV, is that not so?
Yeah.
The INEC result viewing
portal.
Underline the viewing. So what does that tell you? What it tells you is that your election, broadly speaking, is manual. You vote manually, you collate manually, you count manually, and then you hand over to
transmit manually.
You now give to security and the parties copies of the results, and you now upload into an electronic portal, not a collation machine.
There's one thing I want you to comment on.
Until this is understood, Dr. Amechi, the vexed I started with, don't allow politicians to give you talking points. And I know what I'm saying. Why do I say so? You have a result, you should have your own collation as political parties and invite Mohammed to your own collation.
I understand what you mean. It's just that IREV, and I don't want us to go into it because it will take a lot of time, confers credibility on the process. But I understand much of our processes in terms of election are still manually conducted. But there's something Uju raised, and that is and you alluded to it, you can't rig where you're unpopular. Now, Nigerians are saying we don't have confidence in INEC, and they will sit back. Are they not enabling other corrupt politicians to hijack the process and do what they want? Now, how do we encourage Nigerians to, beyond trust in INEC, ensure that they participate, not just in the other processes that we've enumerated, but on voting day, voter turnout? Because the higher the turnout, the lesser the propensity, even by unscrupulous INEC officials, to do anything funny.
You made the valid point. If you don't vote, you have voted. You voted for what you don't want. Okay, if you don't come out, you create the enabling. If there are 1,000 people in a polling unit and just about 100 comes in, community collusion comes in. Most of the noise that you see outside of the cities, citizens, communities collude. There is collusion. They compromise electoral officials to sidestep the process and give advantage to whoever.
So now you agree that among INEC officials, there are still a lot of bad elements that should be thrown out.
In the media, there are no bad elements. In civil society,
we are talking about
there are bad eggs everywhere. But if you have a system, if you have processes that eliminates human engagement in the process, why am I telling you this? For instance, now you can't do overvote. In all your manipulation, you will be very careful not to overvote, because there are laws that have made overvoting, criminal, and there are systems through which overvoting can be detected. So what do? Even in your manipulation, you are careful. You are very careful. Unlike before, where there is there is no check. There is no check.
Even the beavers, you have to be careful.
Yes, you are careful.
Not to override
the politicians have not been able to understand what to do with the beavers. They don't understand what to do with it. There are people in INEC as far as I'm concerned, they go about promising what is not even available, and the politicians are carried away by that. They tell them we will support, we can manipulate this process. But the truth is that the politicians know that you can't manipulate the process. That is why they are going to the voter to pay. They are paying the voter, please come out and vote, because hitherto we used to give this money to people in INEC.
Or to the security agencies?
Yes.
So the voter is the king.
Right now, I'm just coming back to what you're saying. Now, the voter does not understand that the reason somebody is paying as much as 20,000, 10,000, 5,000, 30,000 for you to come out to vote is because you have the power.
But I've not mentioned the Adamawa case where the resident electoral commissioner had issues trying to
illegally declared the results and made return.
So these are some of the things that that shadows.
But what happened is not that he did that. What has happened? He has lost his job. Okay, he's lost his job.
Only that?
He's in court. Okay.
After how many years still in court?
No, but that's no longer the problem.
We also have
Mike Igini and INEC sent 2 professors.
Yes.
To jail
in Akwa Ibom.
In Akwa Ibom. We are not talking about that.
So we need to have Mike Igini's across INEC.
No, it is not Mike Igini. Somebody supported Mike Igini. Mike Igini was a resident electoral commissioner. And there is a commission.
But he showed unseen commitment.
No, that's what I'm saying.
He showed integrity.
You must always know that it takes the support from the leadership for that to be able to.
Okay, I think we have to leave.
I think you did mention the case of where you have 2 result sheets with the same numbers. That one also surfaced during the election. So
a lot happened.
Okay,
exactly.
but all
with the
we have to go now.
And
let me just
show people
let him just
and declare the other one.
Let me round up with this. If you have 100 polling units and something happened in 2 polling units, news is what happened in 2 polling units. Am I right? The ones that happened in the 98 other polling units where things went well will never be surfaced.
Okay, thank you so much, Ezenwemwe, Executive Director, Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa. It's always a pleasure having you shed light on these issues.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll hear from you now as we go to our feedback segment, Citizens' Perspective.
Anefe Kuntia sent this one from Songwater, Ogun State, and he says, why is the Senate running away from the probe of fake agency with budgetary allocation under this administration? Are they fake Senate members? Because if they are the true representatives of the people, they would do what the people want. This is the same way the Senate became uncomfortable when Oyo State Governor Makinde called for investigation of the abduction of children and teachers in Oyo State. What really is the fear of the Senate? It is often said that he who kills by the machete will never allow machete to pass over his or her head. When it comes to borrowing, Nigeria is not a sovereign nation. But when it comes to investigation and probe, Nigeria becomes a sovereign nation overnight. This is quite unfortunate and an act seemingly selfish on the part of those in authority today. Second one is from Emeka Mba from Abuja. He says, it's common knowledge that people in positions of authority in Nigeria brazenly loot the country's abundant wealth dry and turn around to give the impression that the country is poor with mega resources. The annoying and disgusting part is that they loot much more than they and their born and unborn children and grandchildren need. So I wasn't surprised when news broke that the EFCC secured final forfeiture of a whopping 48 properties linked to a former Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, who is standing trial for corruption while in office. I make bold to submit that if we're really serious about fighting corruption, a lot of public servants, both serving and out of government, would be in prison today. And we wouldn't have any business borrowing money from anywhere the way we are doing right now. The loots are traceable, just that there's no sincerity of purpose and political will to fight corruption, except for few selective flashes in the pan like we're having currently.
Okay, we have this one from Anusio Ugochukwu from Lagos State. He says the Federal High Court granted EFCC their plea for final forfeiture of 48 properties out of 57 owed by the former AGF Malami. These properties are said to be worth 212 billion naira. Ekiti State, with 4 million inhabitants, have a budget of 415 billion naira for 2026. That means one person, Malami, has half of the budget of 4 million individuals in Ekiti. What a shame. The former Accountant General, former CBN Governor, the former AGF, the former Aviation Minister and others are all in the EFCC net and served under the supposed corruption Caesar, late Buhari. Is Nigerian political system not a conspiracy? I have said repeatedly that this system of government cannot work. We need a brand new constitution that will check most of these excessives, and corruption should be a capital punishment under our laws. Our monies are being carted away by a few. My tiredness is tired. Now we have this one from Omolayo John from Orozo here in Abuja. He says the 21-day constitutional window of filing election petition has expired. The victory of the incumbent governor of Ekiti in the June 20 governorship election in all the 16 local government areas have gone unchallenged from any candidates or opposition political party. He says this absence of post-election litigation is a welcome development and must reflect in upcoming general elections. A 5-man panel of court must not always determine the winner of the millions of Nigerians. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you so much for the mails on our YouTube channel. A lot of conversation ongoing. Some are saying, bring UN to conduct elections for Nigeria. And I'm beginning to wonder, what if we remove Nigerian voters, allow this INEC to conduct the election and bring in Senegalese voters? Would there be a difference? Because in Senegal, they know their rights and they get it. Can Nigerian voters make the difference there by putting their feet down and by insisting that the right things be done? Are we going to see a different thing? Anyway, these are food for thought. Thank you so much for joining us today. On behalf of my colleagues, my name is Amici Anapua. Have a good time.